Hello and welcome to Film Waffle, and today we are going to be talking about three very important things that come out in the news today. The first one is the reviews for 50 Shades of Grey. They are in. I'm going to be telling you what the critics thought of the movie, which comes out this weekend. We're also going to be talking about the new Agent 47, the Hitman trailer, Agent 47, and I'm going to be doing a quick review of that and let you know what I think about that. And lastly, but certainly by no means least, we're going to be talking about the new footage that's come out from behind the scenes of the new James Bond movie Spectre, and we're also going to be looking at a photograph that's come out to accompany that. It's all looking pretty good, so I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. Okay, so the reviews are out for 50 Shades of Grey. They've been added up and pulled together on Rotten Tomatoes, which gives it a mark out of 100. Anything below 50% tends to be decided on as rotten, and anything above that tends to be fresh. 50 Shades of Grey probably expected this. It's got 44%, which marks it as rotten. It's not great, but it's not as bad as it could be, let's be honest with you. And let's have a quick look at some of the quotes from some of the reviews there. So the BBC has said, this is BBC Worldwide, has said, and I quote, "There's undoubtedly more nudity than in a standard 21st century Hollywood movie, but it's less explicit and less passionate than what Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone got up to in Basic Instinct more than 20 years ago." So that's the BBC critic there for you, kind of approaching it a bit like a vintage wine, comparing it to the sort of the Stone Douglas vintage 20 years ago. It's a bit ridiculous. You can't actually compare the two. One of them's a romance movie, this one, albeit with different overtones to it than you might expect, whereas Basic Instinct was probably quite a self-aware thriller. It had a totally different objective to it. Yes, it was trying to titillate the audience with sort of like possibly similar sort of things, but in all honesty, the two films are probably too different to compare. So okay, but yeah, there's one scathing review for you. Kate Muir at the Times has said that she says it's a picture which starts out a bit more seriously. She says it's a picture which starts out hilarious, becomes ludicrous, and finally dubious, which, although she gave it an overall negative review, according to the site, it sort of says that at least it's layered. I mean, I'm not having massive plans to see this movie, but actually it means at least it takes you through a few different steps of emotions. There might not have been emotions that Muir wants to go through, but actually at least it's a bit layered. But yeah, that's not great. And then Andrew O'Hare says, "I wouldn't say that Taylor Johnson, that's the director, has made a good movie from 50 Shades of Grey, precisely. That's asking too much." Which kind of brings me to the central point here. Now, I'm not going to be an apologist for a film I haven't seen, okay? I haven't seen it yet. But I would say this. I think that actually this is clearly going to be a film where if you like the book, you're going to like the film. And by all accounts, actually, the book is not as good as the film. The film's actually made some improvements over and above that. So it's obviously got an intended audience, and if you're not part of that intended audience, you're probably not going to like it, which is where a lot of film criticism is inevitably going to become unstuck, isn't it? Because you get into film criticism possibly for whole different sets of movies from 50 Shades of Grey, so chances are the critics are not going to like it. That's not to say that you can't be a critic and like 50 Shades of Grey. In fact, I've seen some very positive reviews. I've seen one from Deadline just this morning. I was watching that, and it's worth going over to the site to have a look at it. It's actually really positive in many respects. One or two moments where it maybe sounded a little bit begrudging, but actually overall I think they were quite positive about it. And it was quite an informed review. It's worth going over to the website and having a look at that review. It's actually very good. But yeah, you can't really sort of judge this on a whole different sort of set of merits that you might have learned in film school or over on some sort of criticism course that you did. It's not for that kind of audience, and so yeah, inevitably actually it probably got the score that you might have guessed. I think it's probably slightly better. I think the hatchets could have come out for this movie an awful lot more, and there's certainly some positivity to it. So yeah, you'll be able to make your own mind up if you want to go and see the film. It's out this weekend, and like I said, it's probably going to be the most awkward Valentine's Day you've ever been on, but yeah, it's out this weekend nonetheless, so you can go and see it and make up your mind then. Okay, so the trailer's out for Hitman 47, which is an adaptation of a video game which has been very popular, and it's not your average shoot-'em-up Hitman. It's kind of like a stealth murder game, I guess, because you are the Hitman after all. Yeah, this is the adaptation of it, and the trailer's out now. It's out online, you'll be able to see it, and I'll put a link below the video. My first thought on this is that they were very keen on making sure that you know that in this movie, helicopters will explode. Yes, that's right, helicopters will explode. It was really sort of like, this whole trailer seems intent on two things really. Making sure you know that helicopters will explode, and also that you get to see Agent 47 basically pulling his guns out in broad daylight and shooting loads of people. Both of which kind of betray the whole idea of what the video game is about. Now, this is just a trailer, so don't get me wrong. I haven't seen the film, we don't know what it's like, but really the trailer is not giving us a sense of what made the video game so good. This seems to be a complete departure. It's kind of like, well, they've got this character, so they'll get someone who resembles him and sounds like him. Rupert Friend, who plays him, is actually very, very good at that. He's actually a great choice, and you might know him from, he's been in a few films, but he's also been in, probably most recently for many of you, he's been in Homeland, and he kind of helped rescue that. He was one of the agents who worked alongside the main character, Carrie, and he was just as crazy as her, was basically the twist. He was very good in that series. But here, although there's been some very good casting, this film isn't looking very good. In fact, the trailer is looking extremely standard. And like I said, it sort of seems to betray the mechanics of what made the video game so good. Because in the video game, it's all about espionage. It's all about sneaking around and trying to sort of like, you know, get close to your target and then take them out. Which is actually, unlike many other video games, is actually great material for a movie. And here it looks, at least according to this trailer, like they've completely departed away from that. So it's not looking particularly strong. Now, don't get me wrong, trailers are not necessarily a great example of what the film is going to be like. And sometimes even the tone is very different. I mean, you can normally get a good sense of tone. But sometimes even it's not even a good example of that. But here, really, if you're just judging the trailer on its own merits, the trailer is not very good. It's extremely generic. It looks like every action film, well, not even the most recent action film. It looks like every action film that came out in the 90s, to be quite honest with you. It looks like every action film that came out in the 90s, and it's quite disappointing. Okay, so now this is really our first real glimpse of the movie Spectre, the sequel to Skyfall and the latest James Bond movie. It's some behind-the-scenes footage that they've released today, and it looks pretty cool. It looks really good. It's shot over in Austria, up in the mountains, and it looks absolutely amazing. Some of the shots are as good as you'd probably expect from an actual movie. They do look incredible. And it's showing you them lining up what will be one of the biggest action sequences in the movie, according to them anyway. And it looks great. It's got real echoes of some classic old sort of 60s kind of Bond, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, that kind of thing. The film itself actually comes out in November. It's on a very fast turnaround. It only feels like you know, a couple of days since they've even announced the cast. I know it's longer than that, but it doesn't feel that long ago at all. And it looks like it's going to have all the trappings of classic Bond, the cable cars, the mountains, perhaps a villain's lair up at the top of those mountains as well. It does look really good. And yeah, so that's out in November, and we're going to see probably a bit more of that then in the next few months. We're going to be seeing some more footage like this come out. It's pretty exciting stuff. I think they've found a formula and they're sticking to a formula. It doesn't mean you're going to get exactly what you expect, but I do think that they've sort of tapped this sort of perfect Bond formula, at least for one or two more movies, before we'll probably see it all change again. Okay, well that's it for Film Waffle. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also click subscribe, that will get you the movie news daily as it happens. And if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to see happen or change with the video channel itself, then just let us know, drop us some comments below, and as long as they're nice and constructive, I'll have a look at them and take them on board. Thanks again for watching. This has been Film Waffle.